The morning sun barely broke through the Georgia pine trees when Staff Sergeant Maya Reeves arrived at Fort Bennink's long-range shooting facility. She parked her truck in the gravel lot and sat for a moment, her hands still gripping the steering wheel. Through the windshield, she could see the new range complex, all concrete and steel, nothing like the dusty compounds she'd known overseas. Maya was 42 years old, lean and weathered from 15 years of service. Her dark hair, streaked with premature gray, was pulled back in a regulation bun. The lines around her eyes came from squinting through scopes in the Afghan sun, not from smiling. She didn't smile much anymore. She grabbed her rifle case from the truck bed, a hard black case that held her Barrett M82 .50 caliber sniper rifle. The weapon weighed 30 pounds, and she carried it like it was part of her own body, because for 8 years in special operations it had been. The range facility was hosting a marksmanship evaluation today. New instructors were being selected for the advanced sniper school, and Maya had been recommended by her former commanding officer. It was supposed to be a formality. Her record spoke for itself: 127 confirmed kills, 3 Bronze Stars, and a Silver Star she never talked about. But when she walked into the main building, she immediately felt the shift in atmosphere. "Can I help you, ma'am?" A young corporal at the front desk looked up from his computer. His tone was polite but confused, as if she'd wandered into the wrong building. "Staff Sergeant Reeves, reporting for the instructor evaluation," Maya said. The corporal's eyebrows rose. He glanced at his screen, then back at her. "Oh, yeah, you're on the list, range 3, but I think there might be some confusion." "No confusion," Maya said. "I'm in the right place." She signed in and headed down the hallway toward the ranges. Behind her, she heard the corporal pick up his phone and speak in a low voice. She kept walking. Range 3 was an outdoor facility with targets set at various distances, from 200 yards all the way out to 1,800. When Maya stepped through the gate, she found a group of about 15 soldiers already gathered near the firing line. All men, all younger than her. They turned to look as she approached. A tall man in his 30s broke away from the group and walked toward her. His name tape read Jenkins. He had the confident stride of someone who'd never been told he didn't belong. "I think you want range 5, Jenkins said, pointing over his shoulder. "The rifle familiarization course is over there." Maya set down her rifle case. "I'm here for the instructor evaluation." Jenkins's smile was patronizing. "This is the Advanced Precision Marksman Evaluation. It's pretty technical. Are you sure you're in the right place?" "Positive," Maya said. One of the other men laughed. "Maybe she's here to take notes for her husband." Maya ignored him. She'd heard worse. She'd heard it in every unit she'd ever served in, right up until the moment she proved herself. Then the joke stopped, but she always had to prove herself first. Jenkins shrugged. "Suit yourself, but this isn't a basic course. We're shooting at extreme range with precision weapons. It's not like qualifying with an M4. "I know what it is," Maya said quietly. Before Jenkins could respond, a voice barked across the range. "Listen up." A major strode onto the firing line, a stocky man with a red face and a chest full of ribbons. His name was Calloway, and Maya recognized him immediately. He'd been a captain when she'd met him 6 years ago at a fire base in Kandahar. He hadn't liked her then, and from the look on his face when he spotted her now, that hadn't changed. "We've got a lot to get through today," Major Calloway announced. "This evaluation will test your precision, your knowledge of ballistics, your ability to adjust for wind and weather, and your consistency. The Army needs the best instructors for our sniper program, and this evaluation will separate the professionals from the pretenders." His eyes landed on Maya for just a moment longer than necessary on that last word. "We'll start with a cold bore shot at 800 yards, Calloway continued. "1 round, no warm-up. Let's see what you've got." The soldiers moved to their assigned firing positions. Maya found herself at position 7, between Jenkins and a younger soldier who wouldn't make eye contact with her. She opened her rifle case and began assembling her weapon. The Barrett M82 was a beast of a rifle, semi-automatic, magazine-fed, designed to destroy light vehicles and pierce armor at incredible distances. Maya had carried this exact rifle through the mountains of Afghanistan, through midnight raids and dawn ambushes. She knew every inch of it. "Jesus," Jenkins muttered, watching her. "You're shooting a 50 cal for this." "Yes," Maya said. "That's like bringing a sledgehammer to a watchmaking contest. We're shooting for precision, not just making noise." Maya didn't respond. She finished her setup, loaded a single round, and settled into position behind the rifle. Through her scope, she could see the target 800 yards downrange, a silhouette with scoring rings. "Shooters ready," Calloway called out. "You may fire when ready." Maya controlled her breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. She felt the wind light, coming from her left at about 5 miles per hour. She made a tiny adjustment to her scope. The morning temperature was 68 degrees. Humidity was high. She factored it all in automatically, muscle memory from 1,000 shots in 100 different conditions. She exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger. The Barrett roared. The massive rifle bucked against her shoulder, but she rode the recoil smoothly. Through the scope, she watched the impact, dead center of the silhouette's head. "Perfect shot, position 5. A range assistant called out, checking through binoculars. "Position 7, perfect shot," another assistant called. Jenkins had hit center mass. Maya had hit the head. Jenkins looked over at her, his expression shifting from dismissive to uncertain. "Decent shooting, position 7, Calloway said, his voice flat. "Let's see if you can do it again." They moved to the next evolution, 3 shots at 1,000 yards, with wind conditions changing. Maya adjusted for each shot, compensating for the gusting breeze that had picked up from the south. All 3 of her rounds hit within a 3-inch group at the center of the target. By the lunch break, Maya was outperforming everyone on the range. Her groups were tighter. Her adjustments were faster. Her cold bore shots were flawless. But instead of respect, she felt the resentment building. During the break, she sat alone at a picnic table, eating a sandwich she'd brought from home. The other shooters gathered in their own group, glancing her way and talking in low voices. Jenkins was animated, gesturing with his hands. Whatever he was saying made the others laugh. Major Calloway approached her table. He didn't sit down. "Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" he asked. "Downrange," Maya said. 8 years in special operations." Calloway's jaw tightened. "What unit?" Maya hesitated. Her unit had been classified. She'd operated with task force teams that didn't officially exist, hunting high-value targets in places the public never heard about. But her service had been declassified 6 months ago when the unit was disbanded. "I was with the activity," Maya said quietly, using the nickname for the intelligence support activity. "Precision Engagement Team." Calloway's face went pale, then red. "Bullshit." Maya met his eyes. "It's in my service record, sir." "The activity doesn't take women," Calloway said. "They made an exception." "I don't believe you," Calloway said flatly. "And even if it's true, that was then. This is now. This range, this evaluation, it's about teaching. It's about being a role model for the next generation of snipers, not about whatever you think you did overseas." Maya's hands remained steady, but her voice dropped lower. "I know what I did overseas, Major, and I know what I can teach." Calloway leaned closer. "You might be able to shoot, I'll give you that, but you don't belong here. This is a brotherhood, you understand. The men who go through our sniper program need instructors they can look up to. They need to see themselves in their teachers." "They need to learn from the best," Maya said. "That's what they need." "Watch yourself, Staff Sergeant," Calloway said. "Attitude is part of this evaluation too, and right now yours is deficient." He walked away before Maya could respond. She sat alone for the rest of the break, staring at the pine trees beyond the range. She'd known this wouldn't be easy. It never was. But she'd thought that her record, her skills, would be enough. She'd thought that maybe. Finally, she wouldn't have to fight for every inch of respect. She'd been wrong. The afternoon evolutions were even more challenging, moving targets at extreme range, shots from unconventional positions, rapid transitions between multiple targets. Maya excelled at all of it. Her training had been brutal, far beyond what these peacetime soldiers had experienced. She'd learned to shoot from helicopters, from moving vehicles, from rooftops in urban terrain with civilians in the background. This controlled range environment was almost too easy. But with every successful shot, she felt the hostility growing. When the final evolution concluded, Calloway gathered everyone together. The sun was setting behind the trees, casting long shadows across the range. "Good work today," Calloway said. "You'll all receive your scores within a week. The top 5 shooters will be offered instructor positions." Jenkins spoke up. "Sir, when will we know who made it?" "Like I said, within a week," Calloway replied. "But I can tell you right now, we're looking for more than just shooting ability. We need leaders. We need soldiers who embody the warrior spirit. We need people who fit the culture of this program." His eyes found Maya in the crowd. "Some of you clearly have talent," Calloway continued. "But talent alone isn't enough. This program has a legacy, a tradition, and we need to preserve that." Maya felt her stomach sink. She knew what was coming. "Dismissed," Calloway said. As the group dispersed, Jenkins walked past Maya. "Hell of a day," he said, and for a moment she thought he might actually be extending an olive branch. But then he added, "Too bad they're never going to pick you." "Why not?" Maya asked, even though she knew. Jenkins shrugged. "Just the way it is, nothing personal." Maya watched him walk away, joining the group of men heading to their vehicles. They were laughing about something, their camaraderie easy and natural. They belonged. They'd always belonged. Maya packed up her Barrett slowly, methodically. She ran her hand along the barrel, scarred from years of use, but still perfectly accurate. This rifle had saved her life more times than she could count. It had made her one of the most effective snipers in modern military history. But none of that mattered here. She loaded the case into her truck and drove home as darkness fell over Fort Benning. Her small apartment off base was quiet and empty. No family waiting. No partner to talk to. She'd given everything to the Army, and the Army had taken it all. She opened her closet and looked at the uniform hanging there, the one with all her ribbons and badges. At the top, above everything else, was a small pin. It was understated, easy to miss if you didn't know what you were looking at. Just a simple eagle clutching a rifle with a scroll underneath. It was the pin of her old unit, the activity, the most elite intelligence and special operations unit in the military, a unit so secret that most soldiers didn't even know it existed. Maya had earned that pin with blood and sacrifice. She'd earned it by being better than everyone else, because that was the only way a woman could get in. She'd earned it by doing things she would never talk about, in places she could never mention, against enemies whose deaths would never be confirmed. And it meant nothing here. She closed the closet and sat on her couch in the dark, wondering if she should even wait for the official rejection. Wondering if it was time to accept that the Army didn't want her anymore, not the real her. They wanted her to be quiet and invisible, to take some desk job and fade away. Maya sat at her kitchen table, staring at the official letterhead. The language was bureaucratic and polite, thanking her for her participation, and informing her that while her shooting scores were commendable, the selection board had decided to move forward with other candidates who better fit the program requirements. There was no explanation, no specific feedback, just a polite dismissal wrapped in military formality. Maya read it 3 times, then set it down carefully on the table. Her hands weren't shaking, Her breathing was steady. She'd been through worse than this, much worse. But somehow this hurt more. She'd survived 8 years in special operations. She'd killed men who would have killed her without hesitation. She'd held her position under enemy fire while her spotter bled out beside her, completing the mission before calling for evacuation. She'd done things that would give most people nightmares for the rest of their lives. And now she was being rejected for a teaching position by men who'd never seen real combat. Her phone rang. It was Colonel David Chen, her former commanding officer from the activity. He was retired now, living in North Carolina, but they'd stayed in touch. Maya, Chen's gravelly voice came through. "Did you get the letter?" "How did you know?" she asked. "Because I got a call from an old friend at Benying. He sits on the instructor selection board." Chen paused. "He wanted to warn me that you'd been passed over." "Let me guess," Maya said. "Politics." "Always politics," Chen confirmed. "But this was worse than usual. Calloway pushed hard to keep you out. He convinced the board that you'd be a disruptive presence, said you had attitude problems and didn't work well with others." Maya laughed bitterly. "I outshot everyone on that range by a mile." "I know. My friend told me your scores. You weren't just the best, you were in a different category entirely. But Calloway argued that technical skills aren't everything. He said the program needs instructors who can build unit cohesion, who understand the brotherhood of the sniper community." "Brotherhood," Maya repeated. "There's that word again." Chen sighed. "I'm sorry, Maya. I thought with your record this would be different. I thought they'd moved past this kind of thing." "They haven't," Maya said. "They just hide it better now." "What are you going to do?" Maya looked at the rejection letter. "I don't know yet." "You could file a complaint. EO violation, I'd back you up." Equal opportunity complaints were supposed to address discrimination, but Maya had seen how they worked. The complaint would go up the chain of command, the same chain that had just rejected her. It would take months. There would be investigations and interviews and bureaucracy. And in the end, even if she won, she'd be labeled a troublemaker. No one would want to work with her. "I'll think about it," Maya said. After she hung up, Maya sat in her quiet apartment and tried to figure out what she wanted. Not what she should do, but what she actually wanted. The truth was, she loved teaching. During her last year with the activity, she'd helped train new team members. She'd discovered that she was good at it, patient, thorough, able to break down complex skills into understandable steps. She'd found satisfaction in watching younger soldiers develop their abilities, knowing she was making them better, keeping them safer. The instructor position would have been perfect. A way to serve without the deployments, without the killing. A way to use everything she'd learned without the nightmares that came with it. But they didn't want her. Over the next week, Maya fell into a routine. She went to work at her current assignment, a logistics unit that didn't know what to do with an overqualified staff sergeant. She processed paperwork and attended meetings and tried not to think about wasted potential. In the evenings, she went to the base gym and ran until her legs burned, trying to exhaust herself enough to sleep. On Friday afternoon, she was called to the commander's office. Lieutenant Colonel Barnes was a decent man, fair and straightforward. He looked uncomfortable when Maya entered his office. "Close the door, Staff Sergeant," Barnes said. Maya sat down, her back straight, her face neutral. Barnes shuffled some papers on his desk. "I received a call from Fort Benying, from Major Calloway." Maya waited. "He wanted to make me aware of your behavior during the instructor evaluation," Barnes continued. "He said you were insubordinate and displayed a poor attitude. He suggested that your performance here might be suffering from the same issues." "My performance here has been exemplary, sir," Maya said quietly. "I know that," Barnes said quickly. "Your work is excellent. You're one of the best NCOs in this unit. But Calloway is making noise and it's putting me in a difficult position." "What kind of noise, sir?" Barnes hesitated. He's suggesting that your service record from your previous unit might be exaggerated. He's implying that you might have inflated your achievements to gain preferential treatment. Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. My service record is classified, sir. Major Calloway doesn't have access to the details of my time with ISA. That's what I told him, Barnes said. But he's persistent, and he's got friends higher up the chain. So what happens now? Maya asked. Barnes met her eyes. Nothing if I can help it. Your record speaks for itself, classified or not, but Maya, I need you to understand something. If you push back on this, if you file a complaint or make waves, it's going to get ugly. Calloway will fight it. His supporters will fight it. And even if you're right, even if you win, it will follow you for the rest of your career. You're saying I should let it go, Maya said. I'm saying you should think carefully about what you want your future to look like, Barnes replied. You've got, 5 years until you can retire. You could finish your career quietly, get your pension, move on with your life. Or you can fight this and make the rest of your time in the army miserable. Maya stood up. Is that all, sir? Barnes looked troubled. I wish I had better advice for you. I really do. Understood, sir. Maya left his office and walked across the base, her mind churning. The afternoon was warm, the Georgia humidity thick enough to feel like swimming. She found herself at the old shooting range on the far side of the post, the one nobody used anymore since the new facility had been built. She sat on a wooden bench near the firing line and stared downrange at the overgrown target berms. This was where she'd first qualified with a rifle 17 years ago. She'd been 25, fresh out of basic training, determined to prove she could do anything the men could do. She'd spent her entire adult life proving herself. Every assignment, every deployment, every school, always fighting to be taken seriously. Always being the first woman, the only woman, the woman who had to be twice as good to be considered half as competent. And she was tired. Not physically tired. She was in the best shape of her life. But tired in her soul. Tired of fighting battles that should have been won decades ago. Tired of watching less qualified men advance while she had to justify her existence. Her phone buzzed. A text from a number she didn't recognize. SSG Reeves, this is Sergeant First Class Mitchell. We met briefly at the evaluation. Can we talk? Maya frowned. She vaguely remembered Mitchell, a quiet man in his 30s who'd kept to himself during the evaluation. He'd been one of the better shooters, though nowhere near her level. She texted back, about what? The response came quickly. About what happened with your scores. It's not right, call me. Maya hesitated, then dialed the number. Mitchell answered immediately. Thanks for calling. Listen, I don't know you, but I saw what you did on that range. You should have been selected. But I wasn't, Maya said. Because Calloway tanked you, Mitchell said. I heard him talking to the other board members. He said you were a diversity hire, that your record was probably embellished, that having a woman instructor would undermine the program. Maya felt her grip tighten on the phone. Why are you telling me this? Because it's wrong, Mitchell said simply. I've been in the Army 16 years. I've served with some incredible soldiers, men and women. I don't care what Calloway says. What you did on that range was the best shooting I've ever seen. You deserve that position. Deserving it doesn't mean I'll get it, Maya said. Maybe not, Mitchell admitted. But you should know what you're up against. And you should know that not everyone agrees with Calloway. Some of us saw what you can do. Some of us would be proud to serve with you. After the call ended, Maya sat on the bench as the sun began to set. Mitchell's words meant something, more than he probably realized. Knowing that at least one person saw the injustice, one person was willing to speak up, even just in a private phone call, made her feel less alone. But it didn't change the fundamental problem. Calloway had the power, he had the position, and he was determined to keep her out. That evening, Maya drove to a bar off base where veterans sometimes gathered. She wasn't much of a drinker, but she needed to be around people who understood the military life, even if she didn't talk to them. She was nursing a beer at the bar when an older man sat down next to her. He was in his 60s, gray-haired, with the bearing of someone who'd spent a lifetime in uniform. "You're Maya Reeves," he said. It wasn't a question. Maya turned to look at him. "Do I know you?" "Tom Hartley," he said, extending his hand. "Retired Command Sergeant Major. I served with your old co, David Chen. He called me, told me what happened at Benying." Maya shook his hand. "He's worried about me." "He respects you," Hartley corrected. "There's a difference. Chen doesn't worry about people who can't handle themselves, but he does look out for people who have earned it." "I'm fine," Maya said. Hartley ordered a whiskey and settled onto his bar stool. "I'm sure you are, but fine and right are two different things. What Calloway did, that's not fine." "It's the Army," Maya said. "This is how it works." "It doesn't have to be," Hartley said. "You know what your problem is, Reeves. You've been operating in the shadows for so long, you've forgotten that the regular Army has regulations, rules, protections." "Those protections don't work for people like me," Maya said. "They do if you know how to use them," Hartley replied, "and if you've got the right people backing you up." Maya took a drink of her beer. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that you've got more support than you realize," Hartley said. "Chen called me. I made some calls of my own. There are people who remember what the activity did. People who understand what it means that you were part of that unit. People with stars on their shoulders who don't appreciate Major Calloway's personal vendetta interfering with getting the best instructors into the sniper program. Generals don't care about one staff sergeant getting passed over for a teaching job," Maya said. Hartley smiled. "You'd be surprised what generals care about when it's explained to them properly, especially when they learn that one of the most decorated snipers in modern military history is being sidelined because she doesn't fit someone's idea of what a soldier should look like." Maya felt something stir in her chest, not quite hope, but something adjacent to it. "What would I have to do?" "Keep doing your job," Hartley said. "Be the professional you've always been, and let people like me make sure the right people know what's happening. Sometimes the fight isn't won by the person in the arena. Sometimes it's won by the people in the stands who know how to talk to the referees." "Mixing metaphors," Maya said. "Whiskey does that to me," Hartley replied with a grin. "But you get my point. You're not alone in this, Reeves. You've never been alone. You've just been so busy proving yourself that you haven't looked around to see who's got your back." They talked for another hour. Hartley told her stories about Chen, about the old days in special operations, about the changes he'd seen in the Army over his 30 years of service. He didn't make any promises. He didn't guarantee anything would change. But when Maya left the bar that night, she felt different. Lighter somehow, like the weight she'd been carrying might be shared with others, even if just a little bit. She drove home through the quiet Georgia night and thought about what came next. She could walk away, finish her time quietly, take her retirement, leave the Army behind. Or she could stand up, not just for herself but for every woman who'd come after her. For every soldier who'd been told they didn't belong, that they weren't good enough, that their achievements didn't matter because they didn't fit the mold. When she got home, Maya opened her closet and took out her dress uniform. She looked at the ribbons, the badges, the awards, and at the top that small, understated pin, the eagle and the rifle, the mark of the activity. She'd earned every bit of metal on that uniform. She'd bled for it. She'd killed for it. And she'd be damned if she let Major Calloway or anyone else tell her it didn't count. Maya took out her phone and called Colonel Chen. "I'm ready to fight," she said when he answered. "Tell me what we need to do." Chen was quiet for a moment, then she heard the smile in his voice. "There's the Maya Reeves I remember. Let's go to work." Within 48 hours of her conversation with Colonel Chen, she received a call from the Inspector General's office at Fort Benning. A calm-voiced major explained that they were conducting a routine review of the instructor selection process and would appreciate her participation in an interview. Maya knew there was nothing routine about it. Chen and Hartley had made their calls, and now the machine was moving. The interview was scheduled for the following Monday. Maya drove to Fort Benning in her dress uniform, the one with all her ribbons. She wore her activity pin, positioned precisely above her ribbons where regulations allowed but where most people wouldn't notice it. The IG office was in a nondescript building near headquarters. Major Williams, the investigating officer, was a black woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She had a combat action badge and a deployment patch from Iraq. Maya recognized a fellow combat veteran immediately. "Thank you for coming, Staff Sergeant Reeves," Williams said, gesturing to a chair. "This shouldn't take long. I'm reviewing the recent instructor selection process and your name came up." "How so, ma'am?" Maya asked. Williams opened a folder. "Your shooting scores were the highest in the evaluation by a significant margin, yet you weren't selected. I'm trying to understand the rationale." "You'd have to ask Major Calloway," Maya said carefully. "I will," Williams replied. "But first, I want to hear your perspective. Did you experience anything during the evaluation that seemed irregular or inappropriate?" Maya had been preparing for this question. She chose her words carefully, sticking to facts, avoiding emotion. She described the evaluation, the dismissive comments, Jenkins's assumptions, Calloway's conversation about brotherhood and fitting the culture. She mentioned the call from Lieutenant Colonel Barnes about Calloway questioning her service record. She laid it all out in clear, chronological detail. Williams took notes, her expression neutral. "Did Major Calloway ever explicitly state that your gender was a factor in the selection decision?" "Not in those exact words, ma'am," Maya said, "but the implication was clear." "Implications are harder to prove than explicit statements," Williams said, "but patterns of behavior can be telling. Tell me about your service with ISA." Maya hesitated. Her time with the intelligence support activity was still sensitive, even after declassification. Williams noticed her hesitation. "I have the clearance, Staff Sergeant, and I need to understand your qualifications to assess whether the selection decision was justified." So Maya told her, not everything, some operations would remain classified for decades, but enough. She described her selection for the unit, the grueling training, the deployments to Afghanistan and other places she couldn't name. She talked about the precision shooting, the high-value targets, the impossible shots that had saved American lives. Williams listened without interrupting, her pen moving across her notepad. 127 confirmed kills, Williams said when Maya finished. "That's more than any other active-duty female service member, more than most male snipers for that matter." "I did my job, ma'am," Maya said. "You did more than your job," Williams replied, "which makes this selection decision even more puzzling." She closed her folder. "Thank you for your time, Staff Sergeant. I'll be in touch." Maya left the interview feeling uncertain. Williams had been professional, thorough, but Maya had been through enough investigations to know they didn't always end fairly. The IG could find that everything was by the book, that Calloway had legitimate reasons for his decision. They could bury it in bureaucracy and nothing would change. But 3 days later, things escalated in an unexpected direction. Maya was at work when she got a call from the post commander's office. Not her unit commander, the post commander. Brigadier General Marcus Webb wanted to see her. Immediately. Maya's heart raced as she drove across Fort Benning. Generals didn't summon staff sergeants unless something was very wrong or very right. She couldn't tell which this was. General Webb's office was in the main headquarters building, on the top floor with a view of the training fields. His secretary ushered Maya in immediately. Webb was in his 50s, lean and fit, with iron gray hair and the weathered look of someone who'd spent decades in leadership. He stood when Maya entered and returned her salute. "Staff Sergeant Reeves," Webb said, "thank you for coming on short notice. Please sit." Maya sat, her posture perfect, her hands folded in her lap. Webb studied her for a long moment. "I've been reading your service record, the unclassified portions anyway, and I've been hearing some concerning things about the recent instructor selection process." "Yes, sir," Maya said. "I want you to understand something," Webb continued. "This installation has one purpose: to train the best infantry and armor soldiers in the world. When I hear that we might be passing over the best qualified instructor candidate for reasons that have nothing to do with competence, that concerns me." "I appreciate that, sir," Maya said carefully. Webb leaned back in his chair. "I served with some activity personnel in Iraq, good people, the kind of soldiers who don't need recognition because they know what they've accomplished. I'm guessing you're the same way." "I just want to serve, sir," Maya said. "But you want to serve where you can make a difference," Webb said. "Where your skills are actually used, am I right?" "Yes, sir." Webb stood and walked to his window, looking out over the base. "I've got a problem, Staff Sergeant. The sniper instructor program is important, critical, even. We need the absolute best teachers for those courses. Lives depend on the quality of training we provide." He turned back to face her. "But I've also got a major who seems to think his personal preferences are more important than operational effectiveness. And I've got an IG investigation that's probably going to conclude he violated equal opportunity regulations." Maya waited. She'd learned long ago that when generals were talking, it was usually best to just listen. "Here's what's going to happen," Webb said. "The IG investigation will run its course. Major Calloway will likely face administrative action. The instructor selection will be reviewed. But all of that takes time, and time is something we don't have. The next class starts in 6 weeks. He walked back to his desk and picked up a folder. "I'm authorizing a special instructor position, effective immediately. You'll report directly to the sniper school commandant, that's Lieutenant Colonel Morrison, and he's already on board. You'll teach the advanced precision shooting modules. You'll develop curriculum. And you'll prove once and for all that you deserve to be there." Maya felt her throat tighten. "Sir, I—" Webb held up a hand. "Before you thank me, you need to understand what you're walking into. Not everyone is going to be happy about this. Some people are going to see you as the general's pet project. Some are going to resent you for going around the normal selection process. And some are just going to hate you because of your gender, no matter what I do." "I've dealt with that before, sir," Maya said. "I'm sure you have," Webb replied. "But this will be different. This will be public. Every eye will be on you. Every mistake will be magnified. You'll have to be perfect in a way that the other instructors don't." "That's nothing new, sir," Maya said quietly. Webb smiled. "I suppose it isn't. All right, Staff Sergeant. Report to Colonel Morrison tomorrow morning at 0800, and Reeves," he extended his hand, "make me look good." Maya shook his hand. "I'll do my best, sir." That evening, Maya called Colonel Chen to tell him what happened. "Webb's a good officer," Chen said. "One of the best, but he's right, you're going to face resistance." "I know," Maya said. "And Calloway isn't going to take this lying down," Chen continued. "He's got allies. He's going to make noise." "Let him," Maya said. She felt something she hadn't felt in weeks: determination, purpose. "I didn't survive 8 years in special operations to be intimidated by a major with hurt feelings." Chen laughed. "There's my girl. Listen, I made some other calls. You've got more support than you know. There are people watching this situation, people who want to see you succeed. Not because you're a woman, but because you're a damn good soldier." After hanging up, Maya sat on her couch and let herself feel the weight of what was happening. This wasn't just about a job anymore. This was about changing something fundamental in the Army's culture. This was about proving that excellence came in all forms, that the brotherhood Calloway talked about could include sisters too. It was about making sure the next woman who wanted to be a sniper instructor wouldn't have to fight as hard as Maya had. The next morning, Maya reported to the sniper school. The building was modern, purpose-built for training precision marksmen. Inside, she found Colonel Morrison's office. Morrison was a tall, rangy man in his 40s, with a sniper tab on his shoulder, and the quiet confidence of someone who'd done the job at the highest levels. He stood when Maya entered and shook her hand. "Staff Sergeant Reeves," Morrison said, "I've heard a lot about you, most of it from people who either love you or hate you, not much in between." "That seems to be my effect on people, sir," Maya said. Morrison laughed. "I read your actual service record, the classified version. General Webb pulled some strings to get me access. What you did with the activity, that's impressive. That's the kind of experience we need teaching our students." "Thank you, sir," Maya said. "But I'm going to be honest with you," Morrison continued, his tone growing serious. "This isn't going to be easy. Some of my instructors are pissed that you're here. They think you got special treatment. They think the general went around the proper selection process for political reasons." "I understand, sir," Maya said. "Do you?" Morrison asked. "Because it's one thing to understand it intellectually and another to deal with it every day. These men are going to test you. They're going to look for any excuse to say you don't belong here. You're going to have to earn their respect from scratch, even though you've already earned it 10 times over somewhere else." Maya met his eyes. "I've been earning respect from scratch my entire career, sir. I know how to do it." Morrison studied her for a moment, then nodded. "I believe you. All right, let's get you oriented. I'll introduce you to the staff, show you the facilities, and we'll talk about curriculum. Fair warning, this first introduction is going to be awkward as hell." He wasn't wrong. The instructor staff was gathered in a briefing room. 8 men, all experienced snipers, all with deployment experience. Morrison introduced Maya, explaining that she'd be joining the team as a specialized instructor for advanced precision shooting. The reaction was cold. A few polite nods, no welcoming smiles. Jenkins was there, and he looked like he'd swallowed something bitter. The others just stared at her with varying degrees of skepticism and resentment. "Staff Sergeant Reeves comes to us with extensive operational experience," Morrison said, not acknowledging the tension. "She'll be bringing real-world expertise to our advanced modules. I expect you all to work with her professionally and give her the support she needs to be effective." One of the instructors, a stocky sergeant first class named Kowalski, raised his hand. "Sir, with all due respect, we've got a proven selection process. It seems like we're setting a precedent here that undermines that process." "The precedent we're setting," Morrison said coolly, "is that this school will have the best instructors available, regardless of how they got here. Staff Sergeant Reeves's qualifications speak for themselves. Any other questions?" Silence. "Good," Morrison said. "Reeves, you'll shadow Sergeant First Class Martinez this week. Get familiar with our teaching methods and curriculum. Next week you'll start co-teaching. Dismissed." The instructors filed out, most of them avoiding eye contact with Maya. Martinez remained behind, a quiet man in his 30s with steady eyes. "Ma'am," Martinez said, "I'll do my best to get you up to speed." "I appreciate that," Maya said. Morrison left them alone and Martinez pulled out a stack of training manuals. "Our curriculum is pretty standardized," he explained. "We've got a specific progression: fundamentals, intermediate skills, advanced techniques. Most of our students are already qualified snipers who are here for advanced training." Maya listened as Martinez walked her through the program. It was solid, professional, based on proven methods. But as he talked, she noticed what was missing: real combat experience, the kind of adaptive thinking that came from actually using these skills against an enemy who was trying to kill you. What about stress shooting? Maya asked, teaching them to maintain accuracy under pressure. Martinez looked uncomfortable. We do some of that in the advanced modules, but most of our range time is focused on precision in controlled conditions. The enemy doesn't provide controlled conditions, Maya said. I know, Martinez replied, but we work within the constraints we have. Time, resources, safety regulations. We do the best we can. Maya understood. The Army training environment was always a compromise between realism and safety. But she also knew that the students deserved better. They deserved training that would actually prepare them for what they'd face downrange. I'd like to propose some curriculum additions, Maya said. Scenarios that simulate combat stress, time pressure drills, shooting after physical exertion, the kind of things that will actually save their lives. Martinez smiled slightly. Good luck getting that approved, but I'll support you if you want to try. Over the next week, Maya shadowed Martinez and the other instructors, watching their classes, studying their methods. She saw competence, professionalism, solid technical instruction. But she also saw the gaps, the difference between peacetime training and combat preparation. And she saw the resistance. The other instructors were professional to her face, but she heard the whispered conversations that stopped when she entered a room. She saw the skeptical looks when she offered suggestions. She felt the wall they'd built to keep her on the outside. But Maya had breached harder walls than this. On Friday afternoon, Colonel Morrison called her to his office. "How's your first week?" he asked. "Educational, sir," Maya said. Morrison smiled. "That's diplomatic. Listen, next week we're starting a new class, 30 students, all experienced snipers looking to level up their skills. I want you to teach a block on extreme long-range shooting. Show them what you can do." "Yes, sir," Maya said. "And Reeves," Morrison's expression grew serious, "this is your chance. These students don't care about politics or gender. They care about learning from the best. You give them something valuable and word will spread. You'll earn your place here the way you've earned everything else, by being undeniably good at what you do." Maya left his office and headed to the range. She needed to prepare to make sure her demonstration was flawless. Because Morrison was right, this was her chance. The classroom was packed on Monday morning when Maya walked to the front to begin her presentation. 30 students, all seasoned snipers, filled the seats. They ranged from junior enlisted to senior NCOs, representing units from across the Army. Their faces showed a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. At the back of the room, the other instructors had gathered to watch. Jenkins was there, arms crossed. Martinez gave her a small nod of encouragement. Morrison stood by the door, his expression neutral but attentive. Maya didn't have slides or fancy presentations. She had her Barrett M82 rifle case, a whiteboard, and 15 years of hard-earned knowledge. "Good morning," Maya said, her voice clear and confident. "I'm Staff Sergeant Reeves, and I'm going to teach you about extreme long-range precision shooting. Not the theory. You already know the theory. I'm going to teach you what it's really like to take a shot that matters, under conditions where missing means someone dies." She had their attention now. "How many of you have made a kill shot past 1,000 meters in combat?" Maya asked. A few hands went up, maybe 5 out of 30. "How many past 1,500 meters?" One hand remained up, a staff sergeant in the front row. "How many past 2,000 meters?" All hands went down. The students looked at each other. Maya opened her rifle case and began assembling her Barrett. "My longest confirmed kill was at 2,380 meters. That's almost a mile and a half. The target was a Taliban commander in the Helmand province. He was meeting with 3 other high-value targets in a compound that our ground forces couldn't approach without sustaining casualties." She continued assembling the rifle as she spoke, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. The shot took 17 seconds from trigger pull to impact. In that 17 seconds, the round dropped almost 400 feet. It drifted laterally 61 feet because of wind. The temperature was 115 degrees. I was lying on a rooftop that was radiating heat like an oven. My spotter had been awake for 32 hours. The room was completely silent now. "I'm telling you this not to brag," Maya said, finishing the assembly and setting the rifle on the table. "I'm telling you this because the shots that matter, the ones that save lives, almost never happen under ideal conditions. You won't be on a nice flat range with perfect weather and all the time in the world. You'll be tired, hot or cold, stressed and running on adrenaline, and you still have to make the shot." She picked up a marker and turned to the whiteboard. "So today, I'm going to teach you how to do that. How to factor in real-world conditions. How to manage stress. How to make the impossible shot when everything is working against you." For the next 3 hours, Maya taught them everything she knew. She talked about wind reading in complex terrain. She demonstrated how to compensate for the Coriolis effect on ultra-long shots. She explained how to account for temperature variations in the barrel after multiple shots. She shared techniques for controlling breathing when your heart was pounding from exertion or fear. The students took furious notes. They asked intelligent questions, and slowly Maya could see their skepticism evaporating, replaced by genuine respect. After the classroom session, they moved to the range. Maya had coordinated with Morrison to set up targets at extreme distances, from 1,200 to 2,000 meters. "We're going to do something different today," Maya announced to the class. "Instead of shooting from a nice stable position, you're going to run 400 meters with full combat load, then immediately take your shot. Because that's what combat is like. Your muscles are shaking, your breathing is ragged, and you still have to perform." Some of the students groaned. The instructors at the back looked surprised. This wasn't standard curriculum. But Morrison was smiling. They ran the drill. Each student sprinted with their rifle and gear, then dropped into position and tried to make a shot at 1,200 meters. The first few missed completely, their aim thrown off by exhaustion. But Maya walked them through it, showing them how to control their breathing, how to wait for their heart rate to settle just enough, how to time the shot between breaths. By the afternoon, most of them were hitting the targets consistently. "That's the difference between range shooting and combat shooting," Maya said. "You have to train your body to perform under stress. You have to make it automatic, so your conscious mind doesn't get in the way." At the end of the day, the students gathered around Maya, asking more questions, wanting to know more about her experiences. She answered what she could, always bringing it back to practical lessons they could use. As the students filtered out, one of them, the staff sergeant who'd raised his hand about long-range kills, approached her. "Ma'am," he said, "that was the best training I've ever received. Seriously, you just changed how I think about this job." "Good," Maya said, "that's the point." After he left, Martinez walked over. "Hell of a first class," he said. "I learned a few things myself." "Thanks," Maya said. "I mean it," Martinez continued. "I've been teaching here for 3 years. That was the most engaged I've ever seen a class. They're already talking about you, word's going to spread fast." He was right. By the end of the week, Maya's reputation was growing. Students from her classes talked to students in other classes. They told stories about the female instructor who'd made impossible shots in Afghanistan, who taught them things they'd never learned before, who treated them like warriors instead of students. But not everyone was happy about it. On Friday afternoon, Maya was in her office when Jenkins appeared in the doorway. "Got a minute?" he asked, his tone neutral but his expression hard. "Sure," Maya said. Jenkins closed the door and sat down. "We need to talk about what you're doing." "Teaching," Maya said. "Showboating," Jenkins corrected. "You're making the rest of us look bad. Students are comparing their other instructors to you, and we're coming up short." Maya leaned back in her chair. Maybe you should adapt your teaching methods. Maybe you should stick to the curriculum, Jenkins shot back. We have a proven program here. We don't need you coming in and reinventing everything to stroke your own ego. This isn't about ego, Maya said quietly. This is about giving these soldiers the training they need to survive. You think you're the only one who cares about that? Jenkins's voice rose. We all served. We all did our time. You're not special just because you were in some secret squirrel unit that nobody can verify. There it was, the real issue. Not her teaching methods, but her credibility, her right to be there. My service record is verified, Maya said. General Webb saw it. Colonel Morrison saw it. If you have questions about my qualifications, take it up with them. I'm taking it up with you, Jenkins said. Because you're disrupting this program. You're creating division among the instructors. Some of the guys are pissed and morale is suffering. Morale is suffering because some of you can't handle the fact that I might be better at this than you are, Maya said, her voice still calm but her eyes hard. That's not my problem. That's yours. Jenkins stood up. You know what your problem is, Reeves. You think you're above the team. You think your experience makes you special. But you're just another instructor here, and you need to remember that. I'm an instructor who's actually done the job, Maya replied. In combat, against real enemies. And I'm going to keep teaching these students how to do it right, whether you like it or not. Jenkins left without another word, slamming the door behind him. Maya sat alone in her office, feeling the familiar weight of isolation settling over her again. She'd made progress with the students, but the instructor staff was still divided. Some, like Martinez, were supportive. Others were neutral, but Jenkins represented a faction that would never accept her. That evening, Maya was at the range late, practicing. She was setting up for a shot at 1,800 meters when she heard footsteps behind her. It was Colonel Morrison. Working late, Staff Sergeant, he asked. Just staying sharp, sir, Maya said. Morrison walked over to her spotting scope and looked downrange. How are things going with the instructor staff? Maya hesitated. Mixed, sir. Some are supportive, others are not. Jenkins gave you a hard time today, Morrison said. It wasn't a question. He did, sir, Maya admitted. Morrison nodded. I expected that. Jenkins is a good instructor, but he's got a narrow view of how things should be. He doesn't like change. He turned to face Maya. But here's what you need to know. The students love you. I'm getting feedback from every class you teach, and it's overwhelmingly positive. They're learning more in your sessions than they have in entire weeks with other instructors. Thank you, sir, Maya said. Don't thank me yet, Morrison replied. Because that success is making the politics worse. Some people at higher headquarters are pushing back on your position. They're saying you're a disruptive influence, that you're undermining unit cohesion. Maya felt her stomach sink. Major Calloway. Among others, Morrison confirmed. But here's the thing, General Webb is backing you, and he's not alone. There are some people watching this situation very closely, people with a lot more rank than Calloway. I don't want to cause problems, sir, Maya said. You're not causing problems, Morrison said firmly. You're exposing problems that already existed. There's a difference. He paused. Next week, we've got some VIP visitors. A delegation from Special Operations Command is coming to observe our training. They're evaluating whether to send their personnel through our program. Maya understood the implication. They'll be watching the classes. They will, Morrison said. And I want you teaching when they're here. I want them to see what we're capable of, what you're capable of. Yes, sir, Maya said. The following Monday, Maya arrived early to prepare for the SOCOM delegation's visit. She'd planned a demonstration that would showcase both the technical skills and the combat realism she'd been teaching. The delegation arrived at 1000 hours, 3 officers, all with Special Forces tabs and combat patches. They were led by a colonel named Patterson, a quiet man with intelligent eyes and the calm demeanor of someone who'd seen everything. Morrison introduced Maya. "Colonel Patterson, this is Staff Sergeant Reeves. She'll be running today's demonstration." Patterson shook her hand and Maya saw his eyes drift to her uniform, to the ribbons, to the small pin above them. He paused, his grip tightened slightly, his eyes widened almost imperceptibly. "Is that—" Patterson started, then stopped. He looked at Maya more closely. "Staff Sergeant, is that an activity pin?" The room went quiet. The other instructors, who'd been talking amongst themselves, stopped and turned to look. "Yes, sir," Maya said. Patterson's expression changed entirely. "You're Maya Reeves. I heard stories about you when I was deployed with ODA 7212. You were the sniper who took out that Taliban commander and his entire command staff in Helmand. Single-handedly prevented a major offensive." Maya felt every eye in the room on her now. "I had a spotter, sir." "Don't be modest," Patterson said, his voice carrying authority. "I read the after-action reports. That was some of the finest precision shooting in modern warfare. We used your tactics as a case study in our advanced course." He turned to Morrison. "Colonel, do you understand who you have teaching here?" Morrison was smiling now. "I do, sir. That's why she's here." Patterson turned back to Maya. "I've been trying to find you for 2 years. We wanted to bring you in as a guest instructor for our sniper program, but you disappeared into the regular army." He looked at the other members of his delegation. "Gentlemen, we're watching a legend teach. Pay attention." The demonstration that followed was flawless. Maya walked the class through a complex scenario, multiple targets at varying ranges, changing wind conditions, time pressure. She had the students work as teams, calling shots for each other, making adjustments on the fly. The SOCOM delegation watched intently, occasionally conferring in low voices. Patterson asked intelligent questions, pushing Maya to explain her reasoning, her techniques. She answered clearly, demonstrating not just her skills but her deep understanding of the craft. At the end of the session, Patterson approached her again. "Staff Sergeant, I have a question for you. Why aren't you still with a Special Operations unit?" Maya chose her words carefully. "After 8 years, I wanted to contribute differently, sir. Teaching seemed like a good way to multiply my impact." Patterson studied her for a moment. "But you ended up fighting just to get a teaching position. I know about the instructor selection issue. Word travels in the SOF community." "It worked out, sir," Maya said. "It shouldn't have been a fight," Patterson replied. "Your record should have been enough." He glanced at Morrison. "Colonel, I'm going to be blunt. I want Staff Sergeant Reeves assigned as a liaison instructor to USASOC. We'll keep her based here, but she'll develop curriculum for our sniper programs across special operations. She'll have direct input into how we train our most elite shooters." Morrison looked at Maya. "It's your call, Staff Sergeant." Maya felt something shift in her chest. This was recognition, real recognition, from people who understood what she'd done and what she could offer. This was the opportunity she'd been fighting for, multiplied. "I'd be honored, sir," Maya said. "Outstanding," Patterson said. "I'll have the orders cut by the end of the week." He extended his hand again. "Welcome to the team, Staff Sergeant, the real team where your skills are valued." After the delegation left, the instructor staff gathered in the hallway. Maya could see the expressions changing. Jenkins looked stunned. Martinez was grinning, and the others were reassessing everything they thought they knew about her. Morrison pulled Maya aside. "That pin," he said quietly. "Why didn't you ever mention it? Why didn't you make a bigger deal about your background?" "Because I wanted to be judged on my teaching, sir," Maya said, "not on my past." "Noble," Morrison said, "but maybe impractical. Sometimes people need to understand where you're coming from before they can appreciate where you are." That evening, Maya was packing up her gear when Martinez approached her. "I owe you an apology," he said. "We all do. We should have looked past the politics and seen what you really were. We should have trusted Morrison's judgment." "It's fine," Maya said. "It's not fine," Martinez insisted. "You had to prove yourself twice, once in combat and again here. That's not right. But for what it's worth, you've earned every bit of respect now. The students know it. The SOCOM guys know it. And we know it." Maya nodded, "Thanks." Over the next few weeks, everything changed. The SOCOM assignment came through, giving Maya official status as a Special Operations Liaison. She continued teaching at Fort Benning but also traveled to other bases, helping develop advanced sniper curricula for Rangers, Special Forces, and other SOF units. Her reputation grew. Stories about her combat service circulated. Students requested her classes specifically. Other female soldiers reached out to her, thanking her for breaking barriers, for proving it could be done. And Major Calloway, the IG investigation concluded with findings of improper bias in the selection process. He received a letter of reprimand and was reassigned to a staff position. He never worked with the sniper program again. But the real victory wasn't Calloway's downfall. It was what happened 6 months later. Maya was teaching a class when Colonel Morrison came to observe. Afterward, he asked her to walk with him. "I have news," Morrison said as they strolled across the base. "The sniper school is restructuring. We're creating a senior instructor position, someone who will oversee all curriculum development, quality control, the whole program." "That's great, sir," Maya said. "I want you for the job," Morrison said. "Master Sergeant position. You'd be the first woman to hold it, but more importantly, you'd be the best person for it." Maya stopped walking. "Sir, I'm honored, but—" "No buts," Morrison said. "You've proven yourself 10 times over. The students love you. The SOF community respects you. And you've changed how we think about training in this program. This is where you belong." Maya felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. "Yes, sir, I accept." A year later, Maya stood in front of a new class of instructor candidates. Among them were 3 women, the first women to be invited to the instructor selection course without having to fight for it. They were there because Maya had opened the door, because she'd proven that excellence transcended gender, because she'd refused to accept no when she knew she deserved yes. "Welcome to the Sniper Instructor course," Maya said to the class. "Over the next 8 weeks, we're going to push you harder than you've ever been pushed. We're going to demand perfection, and we're going to make you into teachers who can save lives by passing on what you know." She paused, looking at each face in the room. "Some of you might be wondering if you belong here," she continued. "Let me save you some time. If you're in this room, you've earned your place. I don't care about your background, your gender, your previous unit. I care about whether you can teach soldiers to be the best snipers in the world. And if you can do that, then you belong here. Period." After class, one of the female candidates approached her. "Ma'am," the young sergeant said, "I just want to say thank you. I've wanted to be an instructor for years, but I was told it wasn't realistic for someone like me. When I heard about what you did, about how you fought to get here, it gave me hope." Maya smiled. "You don't need to thank me. You earned your spot here, just like I did, just like everyone else. Now go out there and be so good that nobody can ever question whether you belong." That night, Maya sat in her office, looking at her Barrett M82 mounted on the wall. It was retired now, replaced by newer models for active use. But she'd kept it, this rifle that had been with her through the hardest years of her life. On the wall next to it was her activity pin, mounted in a frame. And below that, a photo, a group shot from her time in Afghanistan, her with her team, all of them in full gear, squinting against the sun. She'd come so far from that dusty firebase. She'd fought so many battles, some against enemies and some against a system that didn't want to change. But she'd won, not just for herself but for every woman who came after her. Maya turned off the light and headed home, ready to do it all again tomorrow. because the fight wasn't over. It never really was. There would always be another Major Calloway, another obstacle, another barrier to break.